Hi there. So I was just watching the replay of a live video by a reader who I enjoy watching, and she was saying that intuition isn't logical, that you should run it by your logic, and if it's not logical, like, you should dismiss it. And I was just like thinking, wow, like, that's not what I've been taught. In fact, like, I'm pretty logical. I like things to make sense. I've been really upset with my guidance when it didn't make sense to me, you know. But I've been learning that, like, it does not always make sense. It's not always going to make sense, and it's definitely not always logical. So for me, I would have liked it to be that. I would have liked it to be like as simple as, oh, if it's not logical, just dismiss it. But in doing that, I learned that actually I could have done better if I just listened to my intuition, even if it didn't make sense, you know? And so I learned to trust my intuition, even if my logical mind doesn't agree with it or think that it has any relevance. My bigger knowing and understanding of how it all works and the experiences I've had have shown me, like, no, I need to trust my intuition, even when it doesn't make logical sense. And I have talked about this in other videos, but I have a most recent experience. I don't know if I've talked about this in a video, but there have been, countless experiences like this one over the years. Just like little things where it's like, oh, I have the impetus to bring something specific when I'm going out the door. Whether it be like scissors, a tack, a flashlight, and it's like somebody needs that. And it's like, what were the chances that, I would think to bring something that made no logical sense and then somebody needed it? Like, that is my intuition showing me that I should trust it, in my opinion. That's the conclusion I've made. So one recent experience was I was outside getting in my car to bring some lunch to my son. It was a very, very hot day. So I was sitting in my car and I had cooked a pizza for my son. And, like, as I'm about to start the car, I just go, did you shut off the oven? And I start to get this little doubt about if I shut off the oven. But I knew I shut off the oven. And then I was like, all right, I'll go check and see if I shut off the oven. And I was like, shut off the car. And then I was like, you know what? I know that I shut off the oven. I'm not going back in. And then I heard, is there some other reason that you need to go in? And I was like, all right, this is my intuition, obviously kind of piquing me here. So I'm going to go in. So I come back in the house. I had already shut off the oven, just like I suspected. But as I turned back around to leave again, I saw my water bottle. And I hadn't brought my water bottle with me because I had my coffee with me. And I don't usually need to bring 2 drinks on a short trip, which is just 4 miles up the road to bring my son lunch. And then home again. Like, I don't need 2 drinks, If I'm on a day, then I'll bring 2 drinks. But I was like, this thought hit me that, like, I should take my water bottle. And I was like thinking to myself, I'm literally running 4 miles up the road and I'll be right back home, and I already have my coffee that I'm enjoying drinking. Like, I don't need this water. But okay, I'll take it. So I took it. I get back in the car, and as I'm sitting down, as I was exiting my door, I see there's a guy walking on the main road, and he's passing in front of my car. And it's really, really, really hot out, and he just looks like he's been walking a while, right? Like, he's not like on a leisurely walk. He's like got a backpack type thing. And he's been walking a while. You can tell he's very sweaty and stuff, And it's like 90 degrees this day. And I sat in my car and was just like thinking a moment, and I was like, I was like, maybe that guy needs a ride or something, or maybe, and then I just thought, oh, maybe he needs this water. Maybe that's why I needed to get this water. Like, he looks like he needs the water, right? So, like, I pull out of my driveway, and by this time he's down the road a little bit, because, it took me a minute to get going and get settled. And then he's nowhere to be found when I'm on the road. And I'm like, I don't see him. But then I look over, and he's down off the road into the canal, trying to reach into the canal, which is like a cement canal that leads to the lake. And he's trying to like get wet in the canal, but it's like it's like really low compared to where he is. So it's a challenge to try to get water in the canal. But, it goes to show how hot he was, because it was very hot that day. And so I was like, okay. And I was going by him as I saw this, right? He was on the side of the road. And so I pull over into a driveway and a side street and turn around. And I come back and I'm like, okay, this guy's going to think it's weird that I'm like I'm like in the opposite direction of where he's going, and I'm going to ask him if he needs a ride or something. But it worked out so that I saw him come up from the bridge right then, and then I pulled into this little driveway. Like, it wasn't exactly a driveway, but it was like another side street. And he was right there. So I rolled down my window. I said, do you need a ride? I'm just going right down here, but I can get you at least that far. And he said that he was just walking. He was just going to a nearby road that was right near where I was going. And I was like, oh, well, at least get you there. And he's like, oh, if it wouldn't be too much trouble. You gotta love helping these kind of people who are like that, not entitled, not wanting to trouble you, just really gentle soul. I could just feel that, And I was like, yeah, get in. And so he gets his stuff, and he's walking. He's got this bouquet of flowers that he's picked, like tiger lilies. They grow on the side of the road, all along the main roads and stuff, so it's not like he stole them from someone's yard or something. So anyway, I offer him my water, and I explain to him that, it's my water bottle that it's at room temperature from my house, but, and he's thankful for it. And he said that I was the second person who did give him a drink on his journey, and that he's been walking for quite some time. So where he was walking from was at least a 20-minute drive. So I don't know how long he had been walking. And when I got to the road where he was going, I just, said, I'll just take you the whole way. And come to find out, he was the son of one of my classmates from high school. And so I was able to, drop him off, and it was a pleasure to meet him. And it was, for me, like a wink from the universe. Like I even have tears, coming as I say this and recognize it, because it was just, to me, it was really magical. Because I wouldn't have had anything to offer him as far as a drink goes or anything like that. And he really needed a drink, Like, when you're sweating and it's 90 degrees and you've been walking for, hours, presumably, little H2O, really important. So, yeah, all because I followed my intuition. And I could have glanced at that water bottle, had the feeling that I should bring it with me, and then dismissed it because it wasn't logical, because I already had a drink and I was going very close. I could have just said, that's not logical, I don't need that drink. But instead, I trusted myself and my intuition, just like I have many times before on similar things. And other experiences that I've had is intuitively I've been kind of nudged to leave a place. And then I've actually done both things. I've left, but there have been times where I let myself get talked out of it. And then there's a big blow up there. And I'm like, oh, I could have missed this if I listened to my intuition. I could have avoided this. My intuition was trying to tell me, but it wasn't logical, because I didn't see any reason why I should have to leave. So, to me, intuition is definitely not always logical. Like, in retrospect, it's logical, right? In retrospect, oh, now I see, if I left, I would have avoided being exposed to that uncomfortable situation. Or now I see, now that I took my water, I could give it to this person who really needed it, and I didn't know they were going to need it. So it's logical in retrospect, but if I wait for retrospect, then it's going to be too late, So I had to learn to trust my intuition, like, as it comes. And I did that because I am a logical person. I experimented, and I was experimenting by going with the intuitive prompt or going against the intuitive prompt and looking at what happened, and so many times it'd be like, oh, if I only listened, oh, I knew that, oh, and then I just start listening and be like, oh, cool, wow, I see. And sometimes things I just never knew why. That's happened too, where it's like, oh, I feel like going on this street instead. I don't usually go this street. There's no reason for me to go this street. I'm going to take this street. I can't tell you logically why, but I just know that my intuition wanted me to take that street, so I did. Maybe there was a reason. Maybe I spared a raccoon that was going to run out in front of my car the other way, or who knows what it was, right? I'll never know. All I know is that I followed my intuition, and I trust my intuition, So that's what I've learned. That's what I've been taught. And I didn't like it, I want things to be logical. I want things to make sense. I want to know the truth and, like, the reason, and, but that's not how I've been being taught. I was taught like that earlier on. But in more recent years, it's been more like a class on learning to trust myself and my intuition. And I mean, it's definitely been, like, it's been the magic in my life, because while I've been doing this, like, that magical kind of stuff hasn't really been as present, Another thing that girl said that I was watching the live of was that she didn't really resonate with airy-fairy spiritualists. And, like, I get it, but also, like, there is magic here. You can resonate with it. Like, you have to resonate with it to even have it part of your reality. So if you're only ever logical, you'll never resonate with it. You'll never have that as your experience, So, I don't know. It's very interesting, though. Like, I've certainly been lost between this knowing that life is what I make it, that if I resonate with it, I can line up with it, and also that there are certain limitations that I have to experience and that I have to learn from, and that it's not going to be all what I expect it to and want it to be. There's going to be other things that I have to be compelled to do and learn from and live out, And then what it comes down to is both things are true, Like, it's not just like a little carnival ride where I get to choose every ride that I go on, but I do get to choose some of them. I do get to choose what I focus on and line up with, and sometimes that'll turn into a lesson or a blessing, and sometimes it will take me on a, like, sidetrack, maybe while I'm working hard to line up with something, and only to find out, like, that wasn't useful to me in the biggest picture view, right? But, like, that's just part of it, right? And that's why I think I let focusing on magic and manifestation go a bit, because it was like, well, what good is it if there are other things I have to learn here and accomplish, and, like, karmic patterns that I'm trying to work out and through, and, like, I want to do the lesson plan, right? I want to make sure I do what I meant to do. And I don't necessarily feel like it's that important to, like, cater to the whims of my ego. Like, I've been trying to see what my ego is doing and how it's operating and all that, but it's for the reason that I don't want to let it rule me. I don't want to let it run me off course, because I'm more inclined to follow my spiritual calling and what my soul has in mind for this. But when I just said that just now, this is the first time I'm having this thought. When I said that just now, I had this feeling like I should let my ego have some fun. Like, I should let my ego manifest some things. I should experience some of my desires instead of trying to always default to what my soul wants, you know? And again, that's got to be a balance as well. Like, I know that I've been sort of misled in some ways, because I felt like if my soul is leading me in this direction, it must be for this reason. And then it turns out it wasn't for that reason. My soul was leading me in that direction, but it wasn't for the reason that I logicked out, you know? So even that isn't logical. And it's not just because I'm delusional or in denial or anything. What it comes down to is, like, I probably wouldn't have focused and followed through if I thought it was what it was. You know, I had to tell myself the story so I would stay engaged with it. Otherwise, I would have been just like, F this is too hard, I shouldn't have to do this, you know, like, I would have had a bunch of things to say about having to learn tough things, and I wouldn't wanted to do it. So I get why I've been sort of, I'm gonna laugh while I say this, but it's not that funny, but gaslit. Gaslit by God. Just kidding. I don't think that God was the one gaslighting me. I think I gaslit myself, but maybe knowing that that's what I responded to at that time, you know? I was only going to proceed if I thought it was my happily ever after. I wasn't going to proceed if it was going to be like, oh, you got to clear up all these karmic patterns and then you can have your happily ever after. That would have been like, oh, it's too much work. Let's just play around with these fuckboys. It's too much work trying to get purified for my soulmate. Like, I could totally see myself not being as inclined to be committed to the process if I didn't have that, like, fantasy happily ever after as the thing that was, like, edging me on. Like, and it did feel like an edging me on. It was like, okay, just another step. Okay, just another step. And every step I would be like, oh, maybe it's right after this step. Oh, maybe it's right after this step. And thinking my happily ever after was like soon. But when I look back, it's like, oh, what that was like me kind of being breadcrumbed through the spiritual process. And only in retrospect can I look back and have so much respect and appreciation for it. While I was in it, I was just thinking, my prize is coming up. I'm doing the right thing, so my prize is coming up. My prize is coming up. You know, now years pass, and I'm like, my prize is coming up. And, like, I couldn't even really let myself go there with like, thoughts like, oh, it's never coming. Because it was like I put in so much work. So I actually, in a bunch of ways, used, like, these unhealthy patterns. Like, there's a name for that thing when you invest so much into a process that you think you can't pull back or change your mind. I forget the name of it, but, like, those things like that were used for me in my favor, but without my knowledge at the time that I was doing it. Only in retrospect did I realize it. It's like, oh, because I thought that I had invested so much I couldn't turn back, I actually finished. When, you know, a lot of times when we're learning about that concept of you've invested so much, that shouldn't be the reason you stay invested. It's for the purpose of letting us off the hook of staying in something unhealthy. But in my case, I used that for my advantage, you know, from a soul's perspective. It's like, oh, if you're going to participate in that, if you're going to have the belief that once you invest this much that you should just keep going, that you can't back out, then let's use that to our advantage. You're going to do that on this process that's going to take a long time. And we're going to let you maintain that fantasy about what you're doing so that you do it. Because we know that you're not going to like doing it under the truth, under the light of truth. Because the light of truth would have said, your life has been hard up to this point. Your life is still going to be hard for a lot longer. And I would have been like, fuck this. Because I thought that I was saving myself from wanting to die. And the things that made me want to die were just challenges of everyday life. Because I was so overwhelmed, and I felt so traumatized, and I felt like lack everywhere I looked, and I felt like I wasn't enough, and there wasn't enough, and so all of that stuff, those challenges were so unpleasant that I felt suicidal ideation for those first 40 years. So if the answer would have come in the light of truth, and it said, oh, we know you've been struggling, but like now you're going to struggle some more, but in a different way, I would have been like, F this. This is not something I want to participate in. But only because I was in a position to not believe that there was something at the end of the rainbow, like that I was going to work for something and then achieve something. Because all of my struggles previously had never ended in anything happily ever after. So instead, I was just sold on this idea of, okay, I'm going to work towards my happily ever after. And then I thought it was just there. After every turn, I just thought, oh, it's there, it's there, it's it. And it was never there yet. And for me, the happily ever after was being in a happy relationship. And now, that's not the case. But I got here through that story that I told, through taking steps with that fantasy in mind, with that desire that I was working towards. But now, I would say the happily ever after is just being with myself in a way that I feel good about who I am, and I have experiences that I enjoy, and that my life feels enriched by the experiences that I have and the relationships that I have, and I share, vulnerable, authentic, intimate moments with other people. And this is happening, and it is making life more enjoyable, and it's not necessarily that I'm doing those interactions and experiences for that reason. It's just like a byproduct. It's just like I'm having an experience, and then in retrospect, I'm like, oh, that was really cool. Like, I really liked that. That felt enriching. That felt like it was worthwhile, And it's nice to be lining up with those type of experiences. And the work that I did to, purify myself, to eliminate a lot of the shadow patterns that I had that were holding me back and making me live a life of challenge, the work that I did is well worth it, because now when I'm lining up with experiences, they're not all troubling, they're not all challenge, Yes, I had to work to get here, and yes, there'll be more work to do, but there is fruits of the labor. And to be honest, even though I was always looking ahead to the happily ever after, if I had been present more during the process, I would have also had more enjoyment, because there were plenty of fruits of the labors along the way as well. It's just that I was less inclined to notice them a lot of the time, because even though I was taking the steps forward, I was still just looking for the prize. And for me, for a long time, the prize was a happily ever after with a man who loves me. And now I would think that a relationship that I get in, I understand more that it would be about sharing and giving to someone that I love. And yes, it'll be nice to have that reciprocated, but I feel like I'm filled up already, I don't feel empty like I used to. I don't feel like I'm going without love or things that I need or companionship. I feel like I'm my best friend. I feel like I do love myself. I feel like I've proven that for sure. And I feel like I will always have my back and take care of my own needs as I become aware of them. And I've as a result of doing those things, I've been able to line up with more enjoyable experiences. And now you might have like watched a recent video of mine where I talked about only spending time with family who didn't really support me. But in those videos, even just yesterday, after talking about those things, I was able to shift in my vibration to just see myself talk about that. I was able to shift, right? And then, so today was totally different. And today I had interactions that were so much nicer, even with some family members, but also with a friend. And I know that we are always experiencing our own energy back at us. Like, who we are being and what we are vibrating at is what we are experiencing. So if someone is experiencing, a life that says, oh, it has to be logical or it's not worth paying attention to, they are actively cutting themselves off from magical kind of things, including the fact that, like, they're only going to experience what they already know about, really, right? Because they have to have a context to put it in. Not necessarily. But it would seem that they would be cutting themselves off from parts of life that are magical and unknown and not foreseen and not logical at all. Yeah. And I really like those parts of life, like quantum healing, energy medicine. Like, these aren't things that are necessarily logical for a lot of people, but they're logical to me. And I understand how that works. But still, someone else wouldn't think that it was logical that you could, move energy to remind somebody of their wholesome blueprint and allow their cells to reorganize in such a way that they become instantly healed. Like, that's not logical to somebody else. But that means that logic is in line with our beliefs. So, and you do live out your beliefs. So if you only believe that things have to be logical, that's what you're going to live out. And it's just cutting yourself off from so much, that limitless possibilities. Like, there is so much more than what I know. And I like when I am learning something new. I like when there's like a mystery to unfold and figure out. And I feel like how I have been taught honored that, even though I didn't appreciate it in the moment because I wanted to have it all figured out. How I was taught actually did unfold for me in a mystery. It's like, oh, it's not that, it's this. Oh, why this? Oh, because of that. Oh, okay. And like slowly unraveled and filled in spaces where I had confusion. But also in the process of that, I had to be okay with confusion. And that's another thing that I feel like I've been taught in my spiritual journey, is being okay with the unknown, which is something you practice by being okay with being confused, by not having all the answers, by not knowing. Those are things that you can get better at dealing with and can get better at being in the vibration of, which opens you up to limitless possibilities that exist. They all exist. Like, all the possibilities exist. So which one are you lining up with? You're going to line up with the ones that you believe. So if you believe that you don't know everything, and you believe that there are limitless possibilities, and that all the possibilities exist, and that you can just line up with one, then that's what you could do. And that's a way that you can navigate life. And that's not logical. It's not like written the way our society has, like, do this, 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 and this spelled out for us in order to have successful lives. Like, that doesn't come into it when you're operating by the laws of the universe and how we actually work and how energy moves and things like that. Amanda Flaker, it talks about spirituality quite a bit on her channel. And one of the things that she mentions a lot, she uses the word anomaly. And I really love that word, because what she's saying is that we are creating the new possibility. We are pioneers. We are not falling in line to that old way of how it has been told to us to be done, which we recognize as a limitation. And she's calling that an anomaly, which is that, like, we're taking the usual and, like, there's a stick in the spokes here. There's, like, another option, you know? And of course that is the case anywhere, always. And those things are not logical, right? Oh, here's my water bottle. I don't need it. I won't take it. But I feel like I should take it. Maybe there's another reason I should take it. I don't know. It's not logical to me. I'll take it anyway because limitless possibilities exist. I don't know what's going to happen. But I know that I have a feeling in my body that I should take that water bottle with me. Okay, I'll do it. You know, I have a feeling in my body that I should talk to this person. I have a feeling that I should say this. And then it sparks like the most beautiful conversation. Or then they're inspired to share something that is like eye-opening to you, or life-changing to you, or reaffirming to you, or synchronistic to you, or a message to you, or something you can relate to. You just never know. And I feel so blessed that I have these prompts. Like, it's what keeps life exciting and fresh and new. And, you know, I do like when things are logical. I really do. But I also know that it limits me. So, a little of both, please. Both things are true. I think it's Jason Estes that says everything makes sense when given enough time. You know? And it's like, we don't know how long that would take for us to understand. But he's saying, like, you know, in the big picture of things, like, we're just in this 3D reality having this dual consciousness. I mean, this experience of duality. And up there, out of this dimension, everything is already rectified. So that's where time doesn't exist. So given enough time, it will all make sense, you know? That makes sense to me because I kind of try to look at what we're doing here is we're zoomed in on a particular bunch of experiences that we're having with the energy that we're here to experience with and through. And we're sort of studying it. But like outside of this experience here as a human here on this earth that I'm having now, I'm also like bigger than that. I'm a being who has had other lifetimes and other experiences and focused in other places. This is just the one I'm doing now. And I would say, like, if I had to like summarize what I know so far about what I'm doing and studying, is like I came in to zoom in on like kind of bringing a higher frequency. And the reason why I say that is because when I was born, I turned blue for the first 3 days of my life. I couldn't keep the energy here on earth in my body. Like I couldn't house it. My frequency was higher than Earth's, right? And it didn't go well for my little human body. And it was maybe difficult for my soul as well. So eventually we got me to a space where I could be here. You know, maybe I had to veil a few things and make sure that I didn't have as much remembrance as I thought I might wanted to have, and things like that. I had to become more dense, basically. I had to become more dense to be on Earth. And I believe that I came here to study these dysfunctional relating patterns and to take no shortcuts in finding my way out of them so that I would know exactly what steps had to be taken for people who wanted to get out of them. Because I came with the benefit of having that higher frequency, knowing what's possible, and everyone has this, and everyone has this on some level. But like, I came in with the experience of being in that position on the playing field. Like, oh, here's a person who can see a bigger picture view and can also look down into the shadow. And she's here to make a bridge between those things. And that will serve as an example of a bridge to others who will need it, because they're focused in on something else, right? And I'm not saying that as a soul they couldn't have chosen to do the same thing as me. Probably some people did. What I'm saying is that's what I focused in on and chose to do. Like, I used to be around this group of people in town, and I knew that they were like all soulmates. I knew that I knew them from other lifetimes, but they didn't necessarily feel that same way about me. But before they sort of, I don't know, my intuition eventually told me I needed to get out of Dodge. It wasn't going well for me there. I wasn't being treated the way that I thought I should be treated, basically. And so I ended up taking space from them. But before that happened, I would go to like parties and gatherings where they all were. And like, on the inside, I just knew them, right? Like, I knew their energy. I knew these people. I knew I had spent other lifetimes with them. And I knew that, I just lost my train of thought. Hold on. I'll get it back. Oh, I knew that I was being allowed to play the role that I was in, right? Like as souls, we knew that I would play that role. And I used to thank them, like energetically and just like in my mind, thank them for letting me play the role that I was in. Because I wasn't playing the role of a bad guy. I was playing the role of like someone who had some wisdom. Now, unfortunately, what I didn't realize is that didn't go over well. That was rejected by some people, and that was very uncomfortable for some people who didn't want someone who could see into the shadow. And maybe they felt judged or whatever it was, So I don't know how much of that we planned, right? Like, I don't know if we knew that I would get rejected. But before I got rejected, I used to rejoice and thank them for letting me play the role that I was in. Because I knew that, like, others were playing, like, the role of the bad guy, Like, there were certain people in the, like, on the outskirts of the group where everyone was kind of like, oh, look at their shadow showing, And they would act in ways that weren't very nice to other people and be very gossipy and be very catty and sort of, cheat on their boyfriend and blah, 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 and do all kinds of stuff, right? And I would just think like, oh, they're getting to, I didn't think it would like that, but like they're playing the bad guy this time, like they're finding out what that's like. And interestingly enough, a lot of people actually like the bad guy, right? Because you don't feel intimidated by living up to the standard of the bad guy. You feel superior to the bad guy. And I think maybe one thing that girl that I was watching do the live stream mentioned, I don't think it was in the live stream, but maybe a recording that she put on her channel, she mentioned about how being in that position of being like a wise one in a group of people could put you in a competitive energy, in that you would see yourself as better than. And like, even though like I would never think that I would act in those ways that I was witnessing people act, I had to kind of take what she was saying in and just kind of swish it around, right? And say, like, is this true of me? Did I think, oh, I'm better than that? And yeah, definitely. Like, I would never do that. Does that mean I judge them? No. But that's a very subtle thing right there, Because saying I'm better is a judgment. You know, I wasn't like saying, oh, they're awful. No, I would be more inclined to say, make excuses for people and why they were acting the way they're acting. But easy for me to do from the comfort of, oh, I would never do that. You know? So very interesting perspective to gain. And also, like, to put it in perspective of dealing with a group of people that may have rejected me, it could be on the premise of my subtle energy thinking, well, I would never act like that. You know, that could feel like a very subtle judgment. But it doesn't, but I don't want to act like that. You know? So sometimes it's true that rejection is protection, because I don't want to like live in those ways, because those ways are ways that I see perpetuate dysfunction and pain for ourselves and others. And my whole thing has become the win-win-win. Amanda Flaker mentions the win-win-win a lot. I used to say the win-win, and then she pointed out that it's actually the win-win-win, and I was like, oh yes, of course. I win, you win, we all win. You know? So everything that I'm doing and everything that I kind of want to do has always been about the win-win-win. So if I see somebody acting in a way that is harming themselves or others, yeah, I don't want to do that. And yeah, I don't want to surround myself with a bunch of people who are doing that, you know? But at the same time, there are people that I care about who are doing that, you know? So I just can't, like, I can't let them be the only ones in my life. So today, you know, as it happens sometimes, the universe lined me up with a friend who is sort of on the path like me, and who is much more aware, and maybe even in touch with some other lifetimes where she did some sort of like, you know, holistic healing kind of stuff. And so what I understand about life correlates to what she understands about life. And so we can have these discussions, you know, and that felt really good and timely from just yesterday, me having this realization that I had spent a lot of time being surrounded by people who couldn't see me. And then today, having conversations with someone who can see me, and just how refreshing that is, you know, and just being reminded, like, oh yeah, like, it's just a matter of, like, who do I want to spend my time with, and who do I want to invest in? And if I'm only ever surrounded by people who don't get it and who are still suffering, then I don't sort of, like, get the enjoyment of having a conversation anymore. And I like conversating. So to have that conversation today reminds me, oh yeah, if I balance this out better, if I spend some time with people who get it and then some time with people who may still be suffering, that makes a lot more sense, because then I'm fulfilled and refreshed and I have my needs met, and I'm not going to get resentful of the people who I'm more an example of something different for, you know? And I feel like something that the girl on the live video replay said today was talking about humility. And this isn't exactly what she said, but something that came to me when she was talking about humility was like, oh yeah, that's true, that I need to, like, humility isn't just pretending that you don't have the skill and the quality. It's knowing that you do, but knowing that you use it in a way that is for the highest good of all, you know? And I think that is something that I've had a hard time doing, is like owning the skills that I have, owning the fact that I understand how to read shadows and to how to dissect them and how to balance out the energy and neutralize it. And I understand the importance of intuition, and I understand there's a bigger orchestration going on here, and I understand that I don't want to be in judgment, and I understand that everyone's on their path, and, you know, like I am humble enough to recognize that I do have skills and that I want to use them for the highest good of all. I don't want to, like, misuse them. I don't want to, you know, use my ability to see into somebody's shadow to like say something that totally destroys them. You know, I want to, like, I trust myself enough that I will proceed with compassion and I think that's why it's good that I'm in this position, right? Like, it was good to choose me to be in the position of having this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, because I won't misuse it. Now, is someone else getting to play the role of having this knowledge and misusing it? Sure, someone is. I don't know who and for what, and thankfully I'm not in their sphere, but, I'm not saying that that's wrong either. I'm just having some gratitude for the position that I'm in, because this is the position I'm in. So why not have gratitude for it, since this is the position I'm in, Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else either, right? Like, I'm still figuring things out on certain areas of life. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm saying I'm working with what I got, and I recognize it's pretty good, and I recognize that it's been hard work, and I recognize that I've had to use a lot of fantasy and illusion and delusion to get here, and I recognize the value in that, and I recognize the value in logic as well. Yeah, I just wanted to say all that. So that's all. What do you think?